Under the Scope.
All right, Jared Shane here again. The dream team of film reviewers.
We're back.
We're back. It's the Fall Film Flam. Right?
Yeah, Film Flam.
That's what it's called.
Sounds
the
about
Film
right.
Flam. We have not reviewed a movie together since the big box office smash Gravity.
Yeah.
And we are here to review another movie that's bound to do just as good as Gravity.
Get you back in the shot there. You're
I'm out of it.
You're way cut off, but you're driving, so
I'm
that's
driving.
important. I can do a lean job.
We're in the mobile studios. And the movie, of course, we're talking about is Machete Kills.
Machete.
Or Machete.
I prefer Machete.
I like Machete. It sounds a bit more regional.
Yeah, exactly.
This is Robert Rodriguez's.
Indeed, the sequel to Machete.
Yes, part of a trilogy of movies. I don't know.
Seems to be.
Starring
Danny Trejo. In the title role of
as Machete. And then a veritable cast of outcasts.
Lots of people. There's lots of
Latino actors.
People have been in Robert Rodriguez's films before. Maybe some that probably wrote him a letter and said, "I want to be in yours."
Yeah, clearly, it's if you know Robert Rodriguez, or you are a family member,
or if you share a last name.
Yep. More than likely, you're in his film.
Indeed.
But the famous...
And a newcomer, Carlos Estevez, making an appearance.
Carlos Estevez. Taking up the family tradition of playing president.
Indeed.
Who else has been in this movie? We've got Danny, we've got...
Sofia Vergara from Modern Family.
Yep,
You've got Michelle Rodriguez. You've got Antonio Banderas, Lady Gaga, Cuba Gooding Jr., Walter Goggins. I forget how it's spelled,
but
you may know him from the TV show Justified.
Okay.
Gosh, who else? Lots of people. Damian Bashir. He plays the main, or at least initially the main bad guy.
Who is that guy? I don't. He seemed familiar, but I don't know.
He was most recently on an FX show called The Bridge.
Okay.
I'm trying to think what else he's been in, but he's a fairly well-known. I think he's Mexican.
A lot of recognizable faces. You got Tom Savini, right?
Yes,
from,
Tom Savini.
There's another director in there. It might have been Wes Craven. I don't know who that guy was, but he looked familiar.
There's a lot of people in this film.
Yes.
A lot of people.
People that you're going to recognize.
Yes.
By face, you may not know the name.
You may notice the girl from the Spy Kids movies, all grown up.
Yes. You've got a lot of action going on in this
Indeed.
film. So what's it about, Jared?
Mel
Gibson, by the way. We forgot Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson is also in the film.
The lovable Mel Gibson.
So I won't go into too much of the story, but basically, I'm trying to remember, how did it start? So much that happened in this movie. It's kind of ridiculous. So the initial scene is Machete and I think it's his girlfriend, could be his daughter, we're not sure, played by, what was her name?
Jessica Alba?
Jessica Alba.
Yeah.
They're trying to bust up a sale of arms from the U.S. military to the cartel, but this exchange, of course, goes badly, and things happen. Try not to be spoilery, but it goes south badly, and Machete ends up in the president's office being offered a deal where if he goes across the Mexican border. He's in the U.S. now, by the way. Goes to the Mexican border and goes to Carlos Mendez?
Yeah.
I think
you're getting way too deep.
Whatever. Mendez.
If
apparently this guy is a bad guy. He has missiles pointed at the U.S. Machete is enlisted to go and kill him. Put a bullet in his head, and in exchange he will get his U.S. citizenship. And that sets our story in motion.
Yeah. Eventually, it's all about stopping missiles. And
that's the least of it.
And cutting up people into little bits.
There's a lot of cutting.
By the way, I've got a fall film flam flash.
Go ahead.
We're taking a different route home.
Oh.
We've got road construction, which could delay our trip.
Goodness.
So we are headed a different direction.
If you're not familiar with the Machete character, he's basically a Mexican superhero.
Yeah. He's very wrinkly and weathered.
It's Danny Trejo being Danny Trejo, which means he's always got a permanent scowl.
Yep.
But he's badass. He prefers the machete as his weapon. Go figure. Doesn't text, although he does text later in the film. Doesn't tweet.
He doesn't have time for it.
And he's sort of invincible. They don't really ever get into why he's invincible or how this is possible, but
sometimes he's just lucky.
He occasionally gets nicked. Yep. And but he is definitely not down for the count. So
he can withstand a good hanging.
He certainly can. He's got a thick neck, Shane.
He does. Very thick. So we've given out the plot. Let me
more or less.
Let me just put
a lot of chasing, a lot of fighting. Go Go ahead.
There is definitely an audience for this sort of retro 80s B-, C+ movie schlock. I'm not one of them.
I wouldn't guess that you were.
I'm not one of them. I mean, I didn't hate the movie,
right.
but I've just decided up front that I can't give this movie a score. Because I think that you probably need to give it. You probably can appreciate it. This movie was one of the reasons why I didn't like Quentin Tarantino when he first started, because I thought he was too referential, too into a certain genre of movies, and I didn't really buy into it. Okay. And this movie totally embraces, films that you would have rented if you were my age and you were living in the year 1985 or 86, or you had HBO. Movies like Commando,
absolutely,
Chud,
but amped up. And made even more campy and more silly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they know he knows what he's doing.
Oh, absolutely.
It's supposed to be that way. It still doesn't necessarily work for me in that regard.
You have to be the type of person who is going to appreciate that for what it is, because it's so campy, so silly, so schlocky, that if that isn't your thing, you will hate the film. Yeah. Guaranteed.
I mean, and I get it. Yeah. I get what he was trying to accomplish, so I can respect that, and I would say mission accomplished, or el missiono accomplished, or whatever they would say. That was
terrible Spanish.
I think my daughter would understand.
Now, I'm certainly wouldn't consider myself a huge fan of cult films or D-grade films, but I certainly appreciate what is going on in this film, and can kind of get into the right mental state to really enjoy most of it.
You're young at heart.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to say about it. It is what it is.
I mean, this isn't the sort of film that you review, performances.
No,
these are people are doing what they're supposed to do in the scene to propel the action forward, or to give out the bit of information required to get Machete to the next set piece.
Yes.
So it is what it is in that regard.
Yes. What sort of pisses me off about this movie is it's the second Michelle Rodriguez film I've had to see this year, and I'm not happy about it.
Hey, we just saw an article in Entertainment Weekly how she's
a $1 billion
she's
baby.
A huge moneymaker. She's a draw.
I think
at least she has hitched her wagon to some pretty good franchises.
I think her acting might have been better in this than Fast and Furious, and that movie probably cost about 100 times more to make.
She plays the badass pretty well, and that's sort of. She's made that her little cottage industry.
I guess so.
She's got a little shop in Venice, and she's making a good business. I don't know where that was going.
Yeah, I don't either. So if you're into severed heads, computer generated gore,
indeed,
which is kind of a shame. That's something I did want to point out. Not as much actual prop blood. A lot of it was computer generated. You would think with a movie like this, for that ultimate 80s retro feel, that he would have done that. It's probably more expensive to do if you want to know the truth.
Potentially could be. I mean, if you're going for ultimate sort of recreation of that, maybe you do want to go more practical. There was definitely a lot of green screen work, and some of it was either poorly done or intentionally poorly done. I can't always tell.
That's the thing with this guy in this movie. You can have crappy looking stuff.
Doesn't matter.
And you can get away with it.
Yeah.
Even if that wasn't what you were intending to do. I actually think that Robert Rodriguez probably could do different and better and more serious movies than this, but for whatever reason he chooses not to.
Yeah, he's
an interesting
sort of made himself, sort of a little niche where he can kind of do whatever he wants, and this is apparently what he wants to do. So
and I don't know how much money he makes from it, but whatever. God bless him, I guess.
Overall, I'm going to say, I enjoyed most of the movie.
You did have a few
I got in the
laughs.
spirits. I got some good laughs. I got to see Machete in an astronaut suit, so that was fun. Critique-wise, I do feel like it was too long. I think that films of this type of genre kind of have a very limited time frame within which they can operate and still be effective. So I felt like this film could have lost 10, 15 minutes, been really, really lean, really, really clever, and probably more successful.
I would say it probably could have lost 30 to 40 minutes and been very lean.
Wow.
Not quite as successful.
You're probably looking at about an 80-minute film then. You know what? And that would actually be appropriate to the type of genre it was trying to recreate. So
I think so. So let's stop talking about this and goose this sucker with a Scope score, shall we?
Indeed.
The Scope score is 2.5 stars.
So what are we giving it?
2.5.
2.5 stars.
And that's a qualified 2.5 in that if you enjoy this type of film, you will probably enjoy this film.
If you don't enjoy this film, this type of film normally, what would you give it, Jared?
What would I give it?
Yeah.
I don't know, 1 star.
1 star?
You said a quarter.
Yeah, I think
maybe that's fair.
A quarter was a little.
It's not even worth your time if you're not into this type of film. Don't even bother.
It's more entertaining than a quarter star. It's probably about a 1 star film if this is not your thing.
Right.
And especially if you can appreciate the history of cinema in a weird sort of way. This represents a callback to
an homage
to a period of filmmaking history that a lot of people our age probably look back on with fondness and endearment in their heart.
Absolutely.
So there we go.
Machete Kills.
Machete Kills.
Oh, and spoiler alert, there's another one coming.
Go ahead.
What? Go ahead, what?
I thought you were talking about there's a spoiler in the film.
No, there's another film coming. There's a trilogy.
Oh, yes.
You like space?
Yeah.
I like space.
And guess what? Spoiler alert, they set it up in about the first 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So not really that much of a spoiler.
I think it's clever how they do a fake trailer for the film, and then as the film goes along, you start to realize that they're actually building towards this. This wasn't a fake trailer, and Machete started as a fake trailer in the Grindhouse release.
Yep.
And now it's a series of films. So
if you like Machete and you like Moonraker, you're going to love the third Machete film.
Yeah, indeed.
So let's wrap this up. For Jared, I'm Shane. This is the Fall Film Flam. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll be back with more reviews and more Scope.
Ladies and gentlemen, we find ourselves once again at the end. I hope you've enjoyed our time together. I know I have. Fear not, Scope faithful. Days shall pass as if they were but a moment, and Jared, Adam, and Shane will return with another thrilling episode. Until then, send your comments to comments@thescopeshow.com or leave a voicemail message by dialing
612-21-SCOPE. That's 612-217-2673.
Thanks for listening, faithful fans. This is Tony Partington saying arrivederci. Tune in next time to another terrific edition of The Scope.